South Florida is a region that is known to the world for being luxurious, for hosting a vibrant nightlife. This is a place where the rich come to spend money and have fun. The skyline of Miami hosts some of the most iconic buildings in the world, some of the most famous landmarks, but there is one area in South Florida that goes overlooked that many people don't even pay attention to. That place is the Hollywood Beach Hotel. This hotel has a rich history, a very unique past, and today it stands as a monument to a time long gone. Today I'm going to be talking about that hotel, and it is haunted. So join me and we'll take a look. The story of the Hollywood Beach Resort starts all the way in the year 1920. During that time, there was a young entrepreneur named Joseph Wesley Young Jr. who lived on the west coast of the United States, and one day decided that he was going to pick up his roots, go all the way to the East Coast to the undeveloped South Florida area at the time, and he would pursue a career in property development and property management. He did so, and he amassed a small fortune. And in the year 1926, he had enough money to build what he desired as the city of his dreams. He wanted to have an avenue connecting the Atlantic Ocean to the Everglades, and along this avenue he wanted open spaces where everybody could congregate, could talk, could associate, and he wanted parks, churches, restaurants, golf courses, and basically wide open spaces for a city to flourish and for businesses to thrive. And at the end of this avenue, on the edge right up against the Atlantic Ocean, he wanted to build a grand hotel. And this wasn't going to be just any hotel. This was a hotel that was for both the rich and regular folks. Anybody who wanted to visit this hotel could. So, using this wealth that he amassed, he gathered hundreds and hundreds of workers who worked on 12-hour rotating shifts, working day and night, using imported Belgian cement, because at the time there was an embargo, and only necessities for South Florida were allowed to travel by railroad, which was the only method of transportation at the time. So, he built the hotel in only 90 days, which was in and of itself an engineering feat. Once the hotel was built, word spread up north, word spread out west to all the socialites and the elites that this place was the place to be. And shortly after, many of the well-to-do came to visit this grand hotel. The Hollywood Beach Resort rivaled many of the other jazz-era hotels at the time, such as the Breakers in West Palm Beach or the Biltmore in Miami. And unfortunately, it wouldn't be not even 6 months after the grand opening of the hotel that it would start to experience its bad luck. Because in that year, the Great Miami Hurricane of 1926 struck North Miami Beach, I believe as a Category 5, and caused extensive damage to the first 2 floors of the hotel. As you can imagine, sand was pushed in through the entire first floor. It was completely flooded, even up to the second floor. A large part of the infrastructure and the walls were flooded out and basically broken down. And it was during this storm that an unfortunate incident occurred, because one of the employees that worked in the hotel was frantically searching for an older English couple that was visiting, and he knew that they were staying in the hotel and that they were in nearby proximity somewhere near the first floor. But through the confusion and through the rain and the wind that was blowing through, he frantically tried to find them or to locate them, and he couldn't, despite his greatest efforts. After the hurricane passed, the rest of the staff joined in. They tried to find this couple, yet despite their efforts, they couldn't find them. And then they rebuilt the first 2 floors of the hotel in the following weeks and months, but it wouldn't be until a year later when a maintenance worker went to one of the back areas of the hotel to clean out a grease trap, which is basically a giant hole in the ground that's covered that catches all the grease from the kitchens, because the hotel had a large cooking staff to accommodate for all their guests. So he opened the grease trap, and unfortunately inside he found a car. The cars at the time were much smaller, and apparently the English couple decided that they were going to try to escape the storm in their car, and somehow accidentally drove their car into this hole in the ground, this ditch that was covered with what could presumably be just like water, like muggy water that you couldn't even see through, and just, it was probably a chaotic scene. And they just drove the car in, and the waves closed the concrete slab above them, and that was their unfortunate demise as they were trapped in there. Moving on to the 1930s, organized crime had managed to get a foothold in the hotel. At that time, famous mobster Al Capone frequented the hotel very often and actually stayed there for a length of time. Now, organized crime being what it is, as you can imagine, at some point or another, there were rumored assassinations in the hotel and murders. There's rumors of a prostitute that was strangled on the third floor, and I've actually personally spoken with residents and employees of the hotel who say that they won't even get off the elevator on the third floor. There are rumors that you can hear choking or gasping coming from around the corner or behind the walls, and that the ghost of one of these prostitutes still remains in the building. During the late 80s and early 90s, there were two major infrastructure changes to the hotel that really degraded the accessibility and the economic prosperity of the property. One of those was that the city built an off-ramp for Hollywood Boulevard that would go over A1A and curve around, and this completely destroyed the front of the hotel. The whole facade was basically ruined, and it just looks like a giant cement road that's just suspended in the air, and it's not very sightly at all. The other change was that developers wanted to revamp the hotel. So to do this, they took the first 2 floors and they converted it into a mall. And they marketed it in every newspaper, in every commercial, and many people came for the grand opening. And it was a huge grand opening. Many people came from all around to see all the stores that they built. These were the newest stores at the time, offering the latest gadgets and gizmos and whatnot, and cool place to hang out, great food court and all that. And within a few months, it completely lost its popularity. Nobody visited it. Stores closed down very shortly after, and just a year later, it became a shell, a ghost shell of what it used to be. Now the first 2 floors sit as an abandoned mall, just gathering dust. There's literally like 3 stores in there. And the mall actually became the topic of a viral 2019 video that likened it to the back rooms. I personally visited this mall, and I can tell you it's super creepy, it's super eerie to be there, and the whole hotel in general has this aura of just odd strangeness. It's like a place that exists in limbo. So, as this mall sits there, there are large adjacent areas of the hotel that are just simply boarded up or have been walled over and closed off, and you have these basically random voids in the building that have been inaccessible for years, and nobody even knows that they're there. So with all that being said, I can tell you from my own personal experience, as I lived there for approximately 1 year, that there's something definitely off about this place. Every time I would step off of the elevator, it just felt like something was right behind you, or something was watching you, and you would turn around and there would be nothing there. It was very strange. I actually got permission to go down to the second floor of the hotel, This is an area that was closed off decades ago, and I couldn't believe what I found in there. It was absolutely shocking. And this is the video that you're about to see that I took. Sorry. Oh, look at the old wallpaper. You hear chains?
Hmm?
Do you hear chains? Chains.
No.
What is that? I think this used to be like the dining hall.
Yeah, I think so.
It's either this room or that other large room. Yeah, this room's really creepy. That was an old service elevator.
Mm-hmm.
Tony.